Hello, my name is Nigel Cox, Senior Horticultural Lecturer at Bridgwater and Taunton College. Now, this is the first of a set of tutorials I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks on soil. Because it's really important that when you're gardening you understand your soil, what kind of soil type you have, what you need to do to improve it. And when you think about it, if we didn't have soil, we wouldn't have plants, because plants gain all their nutrients from the soil and the soil acts as an anchor for the plants. And if your plants are unhappy, the chances are it's because you've got the conditions for their growth in the soil not quite right. So where do we start? Well, I'm going to talk today about soil texture, or the type of soil you have. Next week, or the next tutorial, I'll talk about soil structure, and then I'll go on to talk about other things relating to soil, including pH and organic matter in the soil. But today we're talking about soil texture, sometimes called soil type. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, there are three different particles of rock which make up soil, and they all have different sizes. The largest of those is a sand particle, the silt is in the middle, and then very, very fine are clay particles. And it's the size and shape of these particles that give the soil its feel. Now, let's put it quite simply. If I take some soil and just moisten it and just rub it between my finger and thumb, I can probably get a good idea of what type of soil it is. For example, if it's very gritty, it means I've probably got quite a sandy soil. And if it is very sticky, the chances are it's clay. Now, when we talk about texture, we talk about the combination of two or more of these three soil particles. We could have a sandy soil, which may have a lot of sand and smaller amounts of clay and silt, or we have a clay soil which would have more clay than the others. And we're trying to ascertain what proportion of each there is. Now, if it's sandy, as I say, it's very gritty, and if it's clay, it's very sticky. And clay, we all know, is jolly hard to dig, and it gets very wet in the winter, and it dries out rock solid in the summer. But actually it holds on to nutrients pretty well. At the other end of the scale, with sandy soils, they're very open textured, they're very gritty, and water drains away very quickly. So they dry out quickly, and they also wash out the nutrients with them. So ideally, we need to have a combination of all of them. Now, we don't want just sand, because if it was just sand, you'd be on the beach. And if we had just clay, you'd be making bricks or pots with it. So somewhere in between, and the clay is essential. We don't want too much of it, but the clay is essential because that's, if you like, the glue that binds the other particles together. So there we have it. One other way of looking at your soil, dig some soil up and get us about a golf ball size bit of soil, moisten it, and then rub it into a ball, roll it into a ball. Now, if it falls apart, the chances are you've got a very sandy soil because there's very little clay binding it. If it sticks together, then probably a little bit more clay. So, good idea to go and find out what your soil texture is. Now, when you're doing it, don't dig a sample from the top, maybe 4 inches of the soil, because you've cultivated that. Try and dig further down, about a spade's depth, and then you'll get down to the real soil, the soil which is the basic makeup of your ground. Once we understand texture, then we can look at how we combine that with organic matter, air and water to make an ideal soil structure. And that I'll come back to in the next video. So for the moment, go out and learn about your soil, and good gardening.